Dear students of medicine and allied sciences, I am happy to reach you through this video presentation on revision of histology. I am Dr. J.P. Gunasekharan, Professor of Anatomy at Pondicherry Institute of Medical Sciences and also author, Textbook of Histology, Atlas and a Practical Guide, Elsevier publication. The slides which you are going to see in this presentation are not new to you. You would have already seen these slides in your medical school during histology practical classes. Presentation of this type gives a quick review of all the slides with points of identification and related questions which are often asked during discussion of these slides. The whole histology is divided into 18 presentations, each of which is of 15 to 20 minutes duration. So the entire histology can be covered in 5 to 6 hours of viewing and listening. Now let's go to the presentation. In this presentation, we are going to discuss about the glands associated with digestive system. We have already discussed salivary glands under glandular tissue. The remaining glands are liver, pancreas, and of course gallbladder, which is not a gland but it stores bile. The liver is an important organ irrigated by two types of blood vessels, namely portal vein and hepatic artery. Portal vein carries absorbed nutritive materials, whereas hepatic artery carries oxygen. Liver is involved in many functions. They are synthesis and secretion of bile, excretion of bilirubin, synthesis and secretion of plasma proteins, storage of glucose as glycogen, detoxification of harmful substances, hemopoietic function in fetuses, degradation of worn out erythrocytes which are phagocytosed by Kupffer cells, and metabolic functions. Like any solid organ, liver is made of stroma and parenchyma. Stroma is the connective tissue component that includes a fibrous capsule known as Gleason's capsule surrounding the organ. External to the capsule, there is a mesothelial covering because liver is invested mostly by peritoneum. The Gleason capsule is thickened at porta hepatis and sends trabeculae and septae into the interior, dividing the parenchyma into number of hexagonal lobules. The lobules are incomplete in human and complete in pigs and other lower animals. The connective tissue trabeculae seen at the angles of hexagonal lobules carry branches of hepatic artery, portal vein and hepatic duct. They are called portal tract or triad. Each lobule has a central vein in the center and the hepatocytes are arranged as radiating cords or plates from the central vein. This is a section of liver from human where the liver lobules are not completely demarcated by connective tissue septae in contrast to the previous slide from pig. So it is very difficult to precisely identify the limit of the lobule. These are the portal tract containing three structures, namely the portal vein, hepatic artery and hepatic ductules. They are also called the portal triad. The hexagonal shape of the classic liver lobule can be visualized by drawing imaginary lines connecting the portal tract or triad that are present at the periphery of the lobule with the central vein in the center. This is another section of liver showing structural and functional components. The functional hepatocytes are arranged as radiating plates of 1 cell thick from the central vein. These hepatic plates or cords branch and anastomose, enclosing liver sinusoids. These sinusoids are lined by discontinuous endothelium. The structure of the hexagonal liver lobule can be better understood in a schematic picture. Here you can see a central vein with radiating hepatic plates or cords enclosing sinusoids between them. Some of the endothelial cells lining the sinusoids are modified to become Kupffer cells, which are phagocytic in function. They are part of the mononuclear phagocytic system. The triangular portal tract seen at the corners of the hexagonal lobules contain branches of hepatic artery, portal vein and hepatic ductule. This is an enlarged picture of the triangular portal tract where one can see the three structures, namely the portal vein, the hepatic artery and hepatic ductules. They can be separately identified by their lining epithelium. The hepatic ductule is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium, whereas these two blood vessels are lined by endothelium. The portal vein or venule has got a collapsed lumen, whereas the hepatic artery or arteriole has got a circular lumen. This one is a real photo micrograph showing structural details of the triad. Here is a hepatic arteriole, here is the hepatic ductules, and this one is a part of the portal venule. This is a higher magnification of liver lobule with central vein and radiating hepatocytes. The hepatocytes are polyhedral cells with 1 or 2 nuclei. As the cells are metabolically very active, the organelles are well developed, reflecting the multiple functions of hepatocytes. One of the main functions of hepatocyte is to synthesize and secrete bile into the bile canaliculi. Bile canaliculi are seen as hexagonal network of intercellular space around each hepatocytes in the plane of the hepatic plate and is bounded by plasma membrane of adjacent to hepatocytes. The flow of bile is from the center to the periphery, that is towards the hepatic ductule present in the portal tract, a direction opposite to that of blood. The sinusoids, here is a sinusoids and that side is also sinusoid. These sinusoids are separated from the hepatic plates by perisinusoidal space of Deci. Blood percolates through the discontinuous endothelium of these sinusoids and come into direct contact with the hepatocytes through the space of Deci. This allows exchange of materials like absorbed nutritive materials, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. between blood and hepatocytes in an efficient manner. The flow of blood in the sinusoids is from the periphery of the lobule towards the central vein. The blood from the central vein goes to subhepatic vein, from there to the hepatic vein, and finally into the blood drains into the inferior vena cava. This slide shows the structural and functional subdivisions of liver parenchyma. Classic liver lobule is hexagonal in shape. The portal lobule is triangular in shape. This triangular portal lobule can be demarcated by drawing imaginary lines connecting the central veins of three adjacent liver lobule with portal tract at the center, or in other words, it can be defined as areas of parenchyma that drains into the hepatic ductule present in the portal tract. Lastly, we have the hepatic acinus of Rappaport. This can be defined as areas of liver parenchyma irrigated by terminal distributing branches of portal vein and hepatic artery present at the interlobular plane. It is a diamond-shaped area of two adjacent classic liver lobules. The corners of the diamond are formed by the central veins and portal tracts with distributing vessels in the center. The hepatic acinus can be divided into many zones in relation to the proximity to the distributing vessels into zone 1, which is very near to the distributing vessel, zone 2 in the middle, and zone 3 away, and so on. The hepatocytes which are close to the vessels, that is cells in the zone 1, would be the first to be affected by or to alter first the incoming blood and vice versa. This is a H&D drawing of liver which can be identified by the presence of the polygonal hepatic globules with the central vein in the center, the portal triad at the corners of the hepatic globules containing the portal vein, hepatic artery and hepatic ductules. And lastly, we have the radiating hepatic plates with sinusoids in between. Cirrhosis of liver is a clinical condition caused by repeated damage to hepatocytes induced by alcohol, leading to formation of nodular masses of liver tissue with increased amount of connective tissue. This is a section of a gallbladder. Gallbladder is a muscular bag that stores and concentrates bile. The function of the bile is to emulsify lipid, facilitating absorption. Gallbladder is made of three coats, namely inner mucosa, middle fibromuscular layer, and outer adventitia or serosa. The mucosa is composed of simple columnar epithelial lining and the supporting lamina propria rich in elastic fibers. The mucosa is thrown into several folds. The epithelium is provided with microvilli which give a striated or brush border to the epithelium. Muscularis mucosa and submucosa are absent. Fibromuscular layer is composed of circularly arranged smooth muscle fibers intermixed with connective tissue. The last layer is adventitia, composed of fibroelastic connective tissue carrying blood vessels and nerves. If there is a mesothelial covering as in the fundus of the gallbladder, then this layer will be called serosa. This is a HND drawing of gallbladder, which can be identified by the presence of mucosal folds lined by simple columnar epithelium, and there is a fibromuscular cord made up of smooth muscle fibers intermixed with the connective tissue. Of course, these are the diverticula of the epithelium, and you can see a blood vessels in the adventitia, and the gallbladder has no muscularis mucosa and no submucosa. Now come to the pancreas. Pancreas is an exocrine and endocrine gland. The exocrine part of the pancreas is formed by serous acini and the associated duct system. The endocrine part is formed by islets of Langerhans. The islets appear as lightly stained clusters of cells among the darkly stained serous acini. These serous acini and islets form the parenchymatous tissue, whereas the stromal tissue includes the capsule at the periphery, interlobular septae, and the intralobular connective tissue that supports the parenchyma. The pancreatic acinus differ from the serous acinus of parotid gland in having pale staining centroacinar cells in the lumen. This is an enlarged serous acinus, and this one is a schematic picture of longitudinal section of a serous acinus. These cuboidal centroacinar cells represents the invaginated intraacinar part of the intercalated duct. These cells, these centroacinar cells, secrete a watery fluid rich in bicarbonate ions responsible for the alkalinity of the pancreatic juice. This alkaline secretion neutralizes the acid chyme that comes to the duodenum from the stomach, facilitating digestion of the pancreatic enzyme synthesized by serous acini of the pancreas. This is the same slide at higher magnification, showing the cellular details of islets of Langerhans. The endocrine cells are arranged as anastomosing cards with fenestrated capillaries in between. The various types of cells can be well differentiated with immunohistochemical staining. This one is a schematic picture of islet. Though it is made of many types of cells, two cell types can be easily made out by their staining reaction, size and position. They are alpha and beta cells. The alpha cells are large and mainly seen at the periphery and is eosinophilic, whereas the beta cells are small and mostly seen in the center and is basophilic. This slide shows the various types of cells of endocrine pancreas and their functions. The alpha cells are large cells with eosinophilic granules found mainly at the periphery, secrete glucagon, form 20% of the population. Beta cells are small cells found mostly in the center, secrete insulin, form 70% of the total population. Delta cells secrete somatostatin. F cells secrete pancreatic polypeptides. In diabetes mellitus, beta cells are unable to produce required amount of insulin, resulting in increased blood sugar level. This is a HND drawing of pancreas. Pancreas can be identified by the presence of darkly stained serous acini, lightly stained islets of Langerhans, and presence of centroacinar cells. These are the probable viva questions often asked during discussion of the slides. With this, we come to the end of presentation on glands associated with digestive system. Thank you for listening and watching.